Hello, my dear students. Welcome to lecture number 2 on light, reflection, and refraction. Students, we understood these points in the previous period. Light, the definition, importance, properties such as reflection, refraction, dispersion, scattering, photoelectric effect, diffraction, interference, and so on. We also had the ideas about the theories proposed to understand actual nature of light, that is from Newton's corpuscular theory to Planck's quantum theory of radiation of light. We concluded that light has dual nature, that is particle associated with wave, means light behaves like a particle, light behaves as a wave also. Let us move to the lecture number 2 on light. Before heading into the reflection part, dear students, let us understand a few more points about light. The study of light is called as optics, and optics is the one of the oldest branch in science. It is one of the oldest branch in science. So study of light is known as optics, and it is considered to be as one of the oldest branch of science. Light is actually an electromagnetic wave. Light is actually an electromagnetic wave. You probably learned that there are 7 kinds of electromagnetic waves present. So they are gamma rays, X-rays, ultraviolet rays, visible spectrum or visible light, infrared light or infrared ray, microwaves, radio waves. These are the 7 kinds of electromagnetic waves, starting from gamma ray, X-ray, ultraviolet rays, visible light, infrared light or infrared rays, microwaves, and radio waves respectively. These are the 7 kinds of electromagnetic waves. For gamma rays, we have highest frequency, therefore lower wavelength, and for radio waves, energy is low or frequency is low, wavelength is high here. Okay, so all 7 kinds of prepared artificially. So this is the electromagnetic wave. Now light is having its own spectrum, visible spectrum, that is taken as Vib-Gayor, violet, indigo, blue, green, yellow, orange, and red. Vib-Gayor, this is the pattern called as visible spectrum. So visible light consists of 7 colors: violet, indigo, blue, green, yellow, orange, and red. Okay, violet to red is the visible part of the spectrum. Light is having the wavelength range from 380 nanometer to 750 nanometer and the frequency range of 790 terahertz to 400 terahertz. These are the wavelength ranges and frequency ranges of light. Note that visible spectrum of light is the smallest of all electromagnetic scale. Let me go back to the previous picture here. See, out of entire electromagnetic spectrum, the electromagnetic spectrum is nothing but it is the systematic arrangement of all electromagnetic waves in order. That is nothing but electromagnetic spectrum. So out of which visible part is having the least range amongst all. Look into the radio wave. It is having the wavelength range very wide and hence frequency is low there. No problem at all with that concept. But looking into the scale of all waves, radio waves, microwaves, infrared, ultraviolet, X-ray, gamma ray, visible part of the spectrum is very much low. So we are saying that visible spectrum of light is the smallest amongst all electromagnetic spectrum or scale of spectrum. Next point, light travels in a straight line and it is said to be as a rectilinear propagation of light. Light moves in straight line, so that is known as a rectilinear propagation of light. Now the question rises, why light moves in straight line or why rectilinear propagation of light? Okay, that is because the size of the objects, generally the size of the objects are large in size in comparison with wavelength of light. Comparing to the wavelength of light, assume this is the light which is moving in straight line, that is a rectilinear propagation of light. Assume this is an object. This is an object and this is the light ray. Okay. The wavelength of this light or light ray, which is very much smaller in comparison with the size of this object, and hence we are saying that for light there is a rectilinear propagation. Okay. I hope you understood all these points discussed. Dear students, let us move to the main part of the topic, that is reflection of light. Definition: the phenomenon of returning of light, the phenomenon of returning of light in a same medium when it falls on a surface like mirror. When the light falls on a surface like mirror, the light returns to its medium where it was there initially. That phenomenon is known as reflection of light. Simply, the phenomenon of returning of light in the same medium when it falls on a surface like mirror or any mirror-like objects or surfaces is known to be as a reflection of light. Here in this picture, we are having two beams of light. Here we are having mirror like surface, or simply take it as mirror, no problem. Different kinds of mirrors in these pictures. So whenever the light is falling on the mirror like surface, it returns to the same medium. Okay, that is known as reflection of light. The surface which reflects the light is known as a reflecting surface. It is known as a reflecting surface or simply reflector. The surface that reflects the light is known as reflecting surface or reflector. Let us try to learn some important terms related to reflection of light. Ray of light. The path in which light is traveling is called as ray of light. It is the path in which the light is traveling. Assume the light is traveling from this point, say A, to point B. So this path along AB is known as a ray of light. Okay, the points AB in this case representing ray of light. Ray of light means the path in which the light is moving. Next one, beam of light. Groups of ray of light is taken as a beam of light. The groups of ray of light is taken as beam of light. Assume there are so many points ABs here, which means this is the first ray and this is the second ray. This is the third ray. Similarly, fourth. You may take even fifth. So the groups of rays of light is taken as a beam of light. It is called as beam of light. The groups of rays of light is known as beam of light. I am taking 3 to 7 in one diagram. I am trying to draw a picture in which you are following incident ray, reflected ray, normal, angle of incidence and angle of reflection respectively. Assume this is the reflecting surface. You call it as reflecting surface or simply reflector. You call it as RS, no problem. Now, assume a ray of light which is falling on this reflecting surface. Okay, this is the ray of light which is falling on a reflecting surface is known as incident ray. It is known as incident ray. Okay, the ray which is falling on the reflecting surface is known as incident ray. And after reflection, this ray of light enter into the same medium. So that is nothing but reflected ray. It is taken as reflected ray. The ray after hitting the reflecting surface, the ray which is hitting after the reflecting surface is known as reflected ray. And we have a normal drawn here. So this is the normal drawn or simply normal you may call. The point at which both incident rays or incident ray and reflected ray meet at that point, that is known as normal. The normal is the point at which both incident and reflected rays meet, that is known as normal. Next one, the angle of incidence. The angle between incident ray and the normal. This is the angle of incidence. This is the angle of incidence I. That is the angle between incident ray and the normal drawn is known as angle of incidence. And similarly, angle of reflection is nothing but that is the angle between the normal and the reflected ray is known as angle of reflection. So incident ray is nothing but the ray which is falling on the reflecting surface. Reflected ray means what? The ray which is moving after hitting the reflecting surface, that is a reflected ray. Normal, it is the point in which both incident and reflected rays meet. Angle of incidence is nothing but the angle between incident ray and normal, and angle of reflection is nothing but the angle between the normal and reflected ray is known as angle of reflection. I hope you followed all these points about the important terms related to reflection of light. Dear students, let us move to the next part, that is types of reflection of light. There are two types of reflections of light. One is a regular reflection and other one is the irregular reflection. So first one, regular reflection. The reflection in which the angle of incidence is equal to angle of reflection. So the reflection where angle of incidence I, which is equal to angle of reflection R, then that is known as regular reflection. The reflection in which angle of incidence is equal to angle of reflection and on the opposite side of the normal. It is saying that on the opposite side of the normal, which means assume this is the normal drawn for the first ray. So the angle I which is equal to angle R, that is nothing but regular type of reflection. This type of reflection is also known as specular reflection. This is also known as specular reflection. Here, the rays of light which are reflected from smooth and shiny object like a mirror at a definitive angle, and each incident ray which is reflected along with reflected ray has same angle to the normal. Okay. Here the rays of light which are reflected from smooth surface, assume this is a smooth surface. So the light which is falling, the incident ray of light, this is the normal and this is the reflected ray. So the rays of light which are reflected from smooth and shiny object, they are definitive angle. This angle is definite, and each incident ray which is reflected along the reflected ray has same angle to the normal, means these two angles are same. Thus this type of reflection produces image. Since the rays of light, incident rays of light and reflected rays are in a definitive angle, therefore this type of reflection produces image. Okay. Next one is the irregular reflection. The reflection in which angle of incidence is not equal to angle of reflection, that is nothing but irregular reflection. The reflection in which the angle of incidence is not equal to angle of reflection, that is irregular reflection. It is also known as diffused reflection. This is also known as diffused reflection. In this type of reflection, rays of light hit an irregular object with a rough surface are reflected back in all possible directions. So let us take this picture. In the picture, the rays of light hitting to the rough surface. So after hitting the rough surface, the rays which are reflected in different angles, say in a non-definitive angle, and hence you can say it will not, this type of reflection will not produce image at all. So this type of reflection is known as diffused reflection or irregular type of reflection. I hope you followed all these points discussed in this class. I will meet you with some more videos in the next period. Till then, take care of yourselves along with your family and friends. Bye-bye.